It all started with the empty space in the corner of my living room. That's the first thing I see every morning when I come out with my cup of tea. It's a ghost, a hollow in the air where Robert's old oak rocking chair used to be. For 47 years, that chair was part of our landscape, part of my landscape. And now it sits in a 10 by 10 storage unit 3 towns over, a silent testament to the day I learned that a mother's love has a market rate. My name is Margaret Sterling. I'll be 68 this coming October. For most of my life, I was a wife, a mother, and a pediatric nurse. I loved my job, but my family was my universe. My husband, Robert, was an engineer, a man as solid and dependable as the oak chair he loved. We had one son, David, our David. We poured everything into him, not just money for college, but time, patience, and a bedrock belief that he was a good man. When Robert passed away from a sudden heart attack 5 years ago, my world tilted on its axis. The house, a sprawling 4-bedroom colonial we'd bought in the 70s, suddenly felt cavernous and cold. The silence was a physical weight. David, bless his heart, was there for me. He and his wife Jessica were my lifeline. "Mum, this is ridiculous," David said one Sunday, about 6 months after the funeral. He was standing in my kitchen looking at the untouched casserole I'd made. "You can't stay here alone. The upkeep is too much and you're lonely. We want you to come live with us." Jessica stood beside him, nodding, her perfectly manicured hand on his arm. She was a striking woman, a senior marketing executive with a smile that was always camera-ready. "We've been talking, Margaret," she said, her voice smooth as silk. "We have that big, finished basement. It's practically a separate apartment. We could even put in a proper kitchenette and a walk-in shower. You'd have your privacy, but you'd be with family, with the grandkids." The grandkids. Liam, who was 8, and Sophia, who was 6. They were the sun and moon in my sky. The thought of seeing them every day, of tucking them in at night and making them pancakes in the morning, was a siren song I couldn't resist. So, I agreed. The plan was simple and, I thought, generous on all sides. I would sell my house. The market was hot, and I stood to make a considerable profit. From the proceeds, I would give David and Jessica $200,000, tax-free. It was to be considered an early inheritance, a gift to build out the perfect in-law suite in their basement. The rest of the money would be my nest egg, a comfortable cushion for my retirement, supplementing my pension and Robert's social security. There was no talk of rent. Why would there be? I was giving them a king's ransom. I was family. My contribution, we all agreed, would be my presence. I would help with the kids, do some light cooking and cleaning, and just be grandma. For the first 3 years, it was paradise. I sold my house for a handsome sum. The check for $200,000 was handed over, and a construction crew transformed their basement into a beautiful apartment for me. It had a small living area, a bedroom, a gorgeous bathroom, and a kitchenette. My own little haven. But I was rarely in it. I was upstairs, living in the heart of their home. I became the unpaid, unacknowledged, but utterly essential engine that kept their household running. I woke up at 6 every morning. I'd make a big breakfast. Eggs, bacon, pancakes for the kids, healthy smoothies for David and Jessica. I packed Liam's lunch, making sure to cut the crusts off his sandwich just the way he liked. I braided Sophia's hair. I drove them to school so David and Jessica could get to their important jobs on time. While they were gone, I cleaned. I did the laundry. I scrubbed the floors. I dusted. I did the grocery shopping. I planned the dinners. When the kids came home from school, I was there with snacks and helped them with their homework. By the time my son and his wife walked through the door at 6:30 or 7, the house was immaculate, the children were happy and fed, and a gourmet meal was waiting on the table. Jessica loved to entertain. Her book club friends or David's work colleagues would come over, and she would show off her effortless home. "Oh, this? It's just a little something I threw together," she'd say, gesturing to a coq au vin that I had spent 5 hours preparing. I never said a word. I'd just smile from the kitchen, refilling wine glasses, content to be the invisible force behind her perfect life. I was also their bank. "Mum, Sophia's ballet lessons are so expensive this year." Or, "Mum, Liam really needs braces." I never hesitated. I'd write a check. I was contributing about $1,000 a month to the household expenses, on top of everything else. It was for groceries, for utilities, for the kids' activities. I was happy to do it. It was my family. The shift was gradual, so subtle I almost didn't notice it at first. It started with comments from Jessica. "Margaret, you used a whole stick of Kerrygold butter in that pastry. That stuff is $20 a pound. Did you run the dishwasher when it was only half full? The water bill was astronomical this month. The kids said they had screen time for an hour after school. We really need to stick to the 30-minute rule." It was a slow, creeping erosion of my role from beloved grandmother to tolerated employee. I was no longer a help. I was a line item, a cost to be managed. David, my sweet David, seemed oblivious. He was stressed from work, and whenever I tried to talk to him, he'd just say, "Mum, you know how Jess is. She just likes things a certain way." The breaking point, the moment the ground fell away beneath my feet, came on a Tuesday night. They called a family meeting. Liam and Sophia were sent to their rooms. It was just the three of us at the big, polished dining table. The same table where I served them dinner every night. David looked uncomfortable. He wouldn't meet my eyes. He just kept rearranging his fork on his napkin. Jessica, however, was all business. She had a folder in front of her. A folder. "Margaret," she began, her voice devoid of its usual warmth. "David and I have been doing some financial planning for the upcoming year." She opened the folder. It contained spreadsheets, printouts from websites. "We've been looking at our budget, and frankly, our expenses are much higher than we anticipated. The cost of living has gone up, the property taxes, everything." I waited, a cold knot forming in my stomach. "We love having you here." "We do," she continued, a statement that felt profoundly untrue in that moment. "But we need to formalize the arrangement. It's just cleaner that way, more professional." David finally spoke, his voice barely a whisper. "What Jess is trying to say, Mum, is that we think it's only fair that you start contributing a bit more formally." Jessica slid a piece of paper across the table. It was a printout from Zillow showing rental comps for a one-bedroom apartment in our zip code. "The market rate for a space like yours, with utilities included, is around $2,000, she said. "But of course, you're family. So we're only going to ask for $1,500, just a simple monthly payment of $1,500. It will help us immensely with the mortgage and the bills." I stared at the paper. Then I looked at my son, my only child. His eyes were pleading with me to understand, to just go along with it. In that instant, I saw him not as my son, but as her husband, a man completely under the thumb of a woman who saw family as a series of transactions. I felt the blood drain from my face. My voice, when it came, was hoarse. $1,500? Rent? "It's fair, Margaret," Jessica said coolly. "Fair." I finally found my voice, a tremor of fury running through it. "Jessica, I gave you $200,000 to build this apartment. I cook every meal. I clean this entire house. I do all your laundry. I am your full-time live-in childcare. I buy the groceries. I pay for my grandchildren's activities. And you want me to pay you rent?" "We appreciate all that, Mom, we really do," David mumbled. "But this is different. This is about the roof over your head. It's a business decision." A business decision. That's what I was to them. A A business. My love. My labor. My time. It was all invisible. The only thing they could see was the dollar sign. The $200,000 was ancient history. My daily servitude was just expected. The monthly cash I gave was not enough. They wanted more. I felt a lifetime of love and sacrifice curdle into something cold and hard in my chest. I looked at my son's weak face, at my daughter-in-law's calculating eyes, and I made my own business decision. "All right," I said, my voice eerily calm. "I understand." Relief washed over David's face. Jessica gave a tight, triumphant smile. They thought they had won. They had no idea what they had just lost. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I simply went downstairs to my rental unit, closed the door, and sat down in Robert's old rocking chair. I rocked back and forth in the dark, the familiar creak of the wood, a lonely comfort. I had sold my home, given away my nest egg, and erased myself in service to them, and in return, they had just handed me a bill. That night, something inside me broke, or maybe it was finally forged into steel. 2 days later, on a Thursday, I was supposed to be watching the kids because Jessica had an important networking dinner. I packed them extra snacks, kissed their foreheads, and put them on the school bus. As soon as it pulled away, my plan went into motion. I had spent the last 36 hours on the phone. I called a real estate agent I knew, a lovely woman named Sarah who had helped a friend of mine downsize. I explained my situation. I wasn't looking to buy, just to rent. Something small, manageable, in a good community. "I have the perfect thing, Margaret," she'd said. "A 1-bedroom just opened up in the Willows. It's a 55-plus community, very active. It's lovely. I can get you in for a viewing this morning." I saw it at 10 a.m. It was perfect. Bright, clean, with a small balcony overlooking a garden. There was a pool, a clubhouse, and a calendar full of activities. It felt like a lifeline. I signed the lease on the spot, paid the deposit, and first month's rent from my investment account. The money they didn't seem to know I still had. Next, I called a moving company that specialized in small, last-minute jobs. "I need my bedroom, living room furniture, and some personal boxes moved tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. sharp." Then came the hardest part. I went through the house I cleaned and cared for as if it were my own, and I gathered my things, not just my clothes and books from the basement. I took the Le Creuset Dutch oven I had bought them for their wedding. I took the set of Wusthof knives I'd given David for his 30th birthday. I took the beautiful framed photos of the kids that I had taken and paid to have professionally printed. I packed up the stand mixer Jessica used to bake for her friends, claiming my recipes as her own. These were my things, gifts of love, and the love was no longer welcome here. Finally, I went to the corner of their living room, Robert's rocking chair. I ran my hand over the smooth, worn oak. I remembered him sitting in it, holding a baby David, and later, a baby Liam and a baby Sophia. It was the heart of my family. I called the movers back. "There's one more piece, a large rocking chair. It's precious. Please be careful with it." The next morning, Friday, was a whirlwind. David and Jessica left for work, Liam and Sophia for school. "See you this afternoon, Mum. Don't forget Liam has soccer practice at 4, David called out. I just smiled. "Have a good day." At 9 a.m., the moving truck arrived. The 2 young men were efficient and quiet. They loaded up my life. The last thing to go was the rocking chair. As they carried it out the front door, I looked at the empty space it left behind. It was a perfect metaphor for the hole I was about to leave in their lives. I didn't leave a dramatic note. I wasn't going to give them that satisfaction. I went to their gleaming stainless steel refrigerator, the one I stocked every week. I took a "while you were out" notepad from the junk drawer. I wrote, David and Jessica, per our business meeting, I am terminating my tenancy, effective immediately. My first month's rent of $1,500 is enclosed, prorated for the first week of the month, $375, as I will not be staying for the full term. I have moved into my own apartment. My new address will not be provided at this time. Please do not contact me. I will reach out regarding the children when I am settled. The house has been cleaned, and dinner, lasagna, is in the fridge. You just need to heat it up. Sincerely, Margaret Sterling, your former tenant. I put the note on the counter, along with 3 $100 bills and a 50 and a 25. I placed my key to their house next to it. Then I walked out and didn't look back. The silence in my new apartment was deafening at first, but then it transformed into peace. I unpacked my boxes. I arranged my furniture. I put Robert's rocking chair by the window overlooking the garden, and I sat. For the first time in years, I did absolutely nothing. I just sat. Around 3:30 p.m., my phone buzzed. It was a text from David. "Hey Mum, running late. Can you pick up Liam from school? Jess is stuck in a meeting." I looked at the text. I took a sip of my tea. I did not reply. At 4:15, the phone rang. It was David. I let it go to voicemail. Voicemail 1. "Mum, where are you? The school just called. Liam is still there. Call me back. This isn't funny." At 4:45, another call. Jessica this time. I ignored it. Voicemail 2. Jessica, her voice tight with annoyance. "Margaret, I don't know what game you're playing, but David had to leave a client dinner to go get Liam. The school was about to call child services. Call us back right now." I made myself a small dinner. I ate it on my balcony. The sun was setting. It was beautiful. Around 7 p.m., the frantic calls turned into a barrage of texts. "David, Mum, we got home. We saw your note. What the hell is going on? Moved out? David, where did you go? Are you okay? Jessica, this is incredibly childish, Margaret. You've left us in a terrible position. David, please, Mum, just tell us you're safe. Jessica, you took the KitchenAid mixer, seriously? That last one almost made me laugh. They didn't get it. They didn't get it at all. They hadn't lost a mixer and a housekeeper. They had lost a mother. The first week was a chaotic symphony of their downfall, which I heard about in bits and pieces. I had one trusted friend in their neighborhood, Brenda, who was my eyes and ears. "Oh, honey," Brenda said over the phone a few days later, her voice a mix of pity and glee. "It's a disaster over there. I saw Jessica trying to back her Lexus out of the driveway this morning, and she took out the mailbox. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. And the kids, they look so sad." That part stung. My poor grandbabies. According to Brenda, David and Jessica were drowning. They were late for work every day because they had to sort out the kids. They were living on takeout because neither of them knew how to cook much beyond boiling pasta. The laundry was piling up in mountains. The house, once pristine, was a wreck. They tried everything to find me. They called my friends. They called my distant relatives. But I had been one step ahead. I had sent a short, polite email to everyone whose number they had, explaining that I had moved for personal reasons and valued my privacy. I told them I was safe and happy, and to please respect my wishes. After 2 weeks of silence, a registered letter arrived at my new P.O. box, which I had forwarded my mail to. It was from a law firm. My heart hammered in my chest. Were they suing me? It wasn't a lawsuit. It was a letter from David, forwarded by a lawyer friend of his to make it look official and track me down. It was a long, rambling, pathetic letter. It was full of "I'm sorries" and "we miss yous." It talked about how the kids cried every night asking for their grandma. It said the house felt empty. It said they were wrong. "We were under a lot of financial pressure, Mum," he wrote. "We made a terrible mistake. We don't want your money. We want you. Please, just come home." I read the letter. I folded it, and I put it in a drawer. It wasn't enough. The word love wasn't in it once. It was all about what they needed, what they wanted. It was about the services I provided, not the person I was. And then came the twist, the part I never saw coming, the detail that explained the true, rotten core of their demand for rent. Brenda called me about a month after I left. "Margaret, you are not going to believe this," she said, her voice low and conspiratorial. "You know the big extension the Hendersons put on their house last year? The sunroom and the big stone patio?" "Yes." "Well, Jessica was trying to one-up them. I was talking to Bill, from the landscaping company. He said Jessica had him draw up plans for a massive outdoor kitchen, a pergola, and a koi pond. He said she was talking about a backyard oasis. The quote was over $100,000. My blood ran cold. "Get this," Brenda went on. "Bill said they signed the contract and were supposed to start work next week, but Jessica called him yesterday to cancel. He said she sounded hysterical, said they had an unexpected change in their financial portfolio." An unexpected change in their financial portfolio? That was me. That was my $1,500 a month. It all clicked into place with sickening clarity. The rent wasn't about property taxes or the rising cost of groceries. That was a lie. They had leveraged my presence, my presumed income, to secure a massive loan for a vanity project. They weren't just charging their mother rent, they were using their mother as collateral. They had taken out a second mortgage, counting on my money, my rent, to make the payments. The betrayal was so profound, so much deeper than I had imagined, that I felt a strange calm wash over me. The last vestiges of my guilt, my sadness for them, evaporated. They weren't struggling parents making a mistake. They were greedy, manipulative people who had tried to swindle their own mother. The hard karma, as they say, was just getting started. Without my $1,500 in rent, and now having to pay for childcare, house cleaners, when they could find one, and expensive takeout, their carefully constructed financial house of cards began to wobble. The new second mortgage payment was, I'm sure, an anchor around their necks. 3 months after I left, I finally decided it was time to see my grandchildren. My heart ached for them. I called David. He answered on the first ring. "Mum! Oh my God, Mum!" He sounded like he was about to cry. "David," I said, my voice cool and even, "I am not calling to discuss us. I am calling because I want to see my grandchildren. I will be at the public library in town on Saturday at 10 a.m. You can bring them to meet me." He agreed immediately. When I saw Liam and Sophia, my heart broke. They ran to me, burying their faces in my coat. They were thinner, their eyes less bright. Sophia's hair was in a messy ponytail, not her usual neat braids. Liam's shirt was wrinkled. They clung to me as if I were a ghost they had summoned. We spent 2 hours together. I read them stories. I bought them hot chocolate. They told me everything. "Mummy cries a lot now," Sophia whispered. "Daddy and Mummy fight about money," Liam added, looking down at his shoes. "They're always tired. We have a new babysitter, but she smells like cigarettes and watches her phone all day." As I hugged them goodbye, I saw David watching from the car. He looked 10 years older, defeated. He got out and walked towards me. "Mum, please," he started, his voice cracking. "Look at what this is doing to them. To us. We need you." "What you need, David," I said, looking him straight in the eye, "is to grow up. You and your wife need to learn how to be parents and partners without an unpaid servant to manage your lives." He flinched, as if I'd slapped him. "It wasn't like that." "It was exactly like that," I countered. "And it was worse. I know about the backyard project, David. I know about the loan. You didn't need my money for bills. You needed it to keep up with the Joneses. You were willing to turn your own mother into a tenant to finance a koi pond. The colour drained from his face. He looked utterly exposed. He had no defence. You broke my heart, David, I said, my voice finally shaking with the weight of it all. You and Jessica took my love and my trust, and you put a price tag on it. You can't just buy it back. I walked away. That winter was the final act. The second mortgage, combined with their new expenses and Jessica's lavish spending habits, was a ticking time bomb. The for sale sign went up in their front yard 2 days before Christmas. Brenda gave me the final report. They were in foreclosure. They had to sell, and fast, to avoid complete ruin. They sold the house for less than they owed, wiping out their equity. The beautiful home they had built on the foundation of my money and my labour was gone. I heard they moved into a small, cramped townhouse, an hour away, in a less desirable school district. Jessica had to take a second part-time job on weekends, doing social media marketing for small businesses. David was working longer hours, trying to pick up freelance engineering work. They were now truly struggling, not pretending to struggle to finance a lifestyle. They were living the reality they had tried to avoid by exploiting me. They tried to contact me one last time. They showed up at the security gate of my community. The guard called me. "There's a David and Jessica Sterling here to see you, Miss Sterling. They say it's an emergency." I walked to the gatehouse. They stood on the other side of the glass, looking pathetic and rain-soaked. "We lost everything," Jessica sobbed, her mascara running down her cheeks. "The house, our savings, everything." "We're so sorry, Mum," David pleaded. "We know we messed up. If you could just help us. A loan. Just to get back on our feet." I looked at them. 2 capable adults who had everything. A beautiful home, healthy children, good careers, and a mother who loved them unconditionally. And they had squandered it all on greed. "No," I said, my voice as calm as a frozen lake. "I will not give you any more money. I will, however, continue to be a grandmother to my grandchildren. I will set up a trust fund for their education, which neither of you will be able to touch. I will see them on weekends and holidays. But my relationship with the 2 of you is purely transactional now, just as you wanted. I am the grandmother. You are the facilitators of that relationship. That is our new, formal arrangement." Jessica stared at me, her mouth agape. She had expected me to crumble, to save them. She still saw me as a resource to be tapped. "Some lessons," I said, looking from her to my son, "are expensive. You thought you could charge me for a space in your home, but you never realized the true value of the space I occupied in your lives. Now that space is empty, and you're discovering it's a debt you can never repay." I turned and walked back to my apartment, leaving them standing at the gate. I don't feel triumph. I don't feel joy in their ruin. I feel a deep, profound sadness. A sorrow for the family I thought I had, and for the grandchildren caught in the middle. But I also feel peace. I have my self-respect back. I'm sitting in my living room now, writing this. The sun is streaming through the window. Robert's old oak rocking chair is in its corner, right where it belongs. It creaks softly as I rock, a familiar, comforting sound. It's not a ghost anymore. It's a throne. A throne in my own kingdom, bought and paid for with a currency my son and his wife will never understand. Wisdom, resilience, and the quiet, unshakable strength of a woman who finally knows her own worth.